Okie dokie. So, ladies, gents, hopefully you've all got your little reading for today's lesson. We're going to have a look at how we can take this piece, which is a fantastic piece of writing in and of itself. And what we want to do is, I guess, Kate Kennedy it. Turn it into a piece that more reflects Kate Kennedy and the style of writing. There's a lot in it that does reflect Kate Kennedy and her style of writing, which is really awesome. But there are ways that we can kind of, I guess, enhance that. And that's particularly what I wanted to look at today, because it looked like a lot of kids were feeling like they're not quite hitting that mark yet. On your version, it doesn't have the prompt, but I'll tell you what the prompt was. So it was from Laminex and Mirrors, if you want to write that on there. It was from Laminex and Mirrors, and it was, if you want to copy it out, it was this. It is... Yep, that's it. Couldn't get more local, mate. All right, so the quote was... "It's the recklessness in his voice that decides me." It's the recklessness in his voice that decides me. It's the recklessness in his voice that decides me. ... So ellipsis, 3 dots. I hold out my hand to help him into his wheelchair. No, it's not on the page. Yeah, so right on the top. Yeah. So it's the recklessness in his voice that decides me. I hold out my hand to help him into his wheelchair. Jacob's having a good one. Right. So... That's the quote. It's from Laminex and Mirrors. It's from page 52. It's the recklessness in his voice that decides me. I hold out my hand to help him into his wheelchair. Okay, so Laminex and Mirrors, page 52. So let's just have a look at this first paragraph. Just reading the first paragraph. So, stopping at South Morang via the City Loop. I got onto the train, immediately lost in the sea of bodies, a room full of rampaging strangers. I grit my teeth as I try to locate an empty chair, my eyes darting around until they stop on one. It's like guerrilla warfare in here, and I tactically dart over to the chair, claiming it as my own. It's been a rough day today. I got lost and was late to my job interview. I didn't need to see their tight smiles and overly enthusiastic tones to know the result of it. I lean down a bit, rubbing my ankle, and then slowly sit up, hearing my bones make the cracking noises as I sigh, my body releasing tension that I hadn't even noticed was there. I wasn't prepared to give up my seat. No, not today. Okay, so tell me, what in that piece, what in that start do you go, yeah, that's Kate Kennedy?
Metaphors.
Metaphor? Where is the metaphor? All of it? Well, we can't be all of it. A sea of bodies, lost in a sea of bodies, that's obviously a metaphor. So we've got a nice little metaphor to start with. Love a metaphor. And remember, Kate Kennedy loves a metaphor, particularly that helps us understand how somebody feels. She particularly uses it to kind of go, this is how this person is feeling. So when someone says, immediately lost in the sea of bodies, Eddie, what do you think this person feels? If they're immediately lost in a sea of bodies, how do they feel?
Lost.
They feel lost. Can you extrapolate anything from that? Claustrophobic, yep.
I was going to say that one.
Yeah. They feel kind of alone in a crowd, which is a big thing that Kate Kennedy does, that she has these people who feel alone even though they're with somebody. Like Mrs. Slovak. She feels alone, but she has a husband. Why the hell does she feel alone? She's with him all the time. Or like Michelle. Michelle has a baby and Des. Why does she feel alone? Or Cake. She goes to work. There's loads of people there. She feels isolated. Okay, so that, again, is pulling really into those ideas that Kate Kennedy shows us about how people can feel alone even though they're not alone. Well, they can feel lonely, but even though they're not alone. Sorry, my thing has just started working, which makes me happy. And I haven't used this since I was in here last. That's quite funny. 85, 46. So I'm just going to log in. Okay. So, so that's a metaphor. What other metaphors do we see in this that you go, ooh, that's good, that's Kate Kennedy, hello? Yep.
It's like guerrilla warfare.
It's like guerrilla warfare, good. Technically, that is a simile because it says it's like, but I will take it. It is metaphoric language, so I'll definitely take it. Yep. And again, it kind of tells us something that we can picture. Yeah, that we kind of go, and again, that feeling of like pressure. Good. Anything else in there that you go language-wise, that metaphor just really hits it? Anything else that you like in there? I like a room full of rampaging strangers. I think that's really nice too. Okay, what else tells you? Kate Kennedy, this is great. This is connecting to Kate. How else does this connect to Kate? Yeah?
Towards the end, body releasing tension and the cracking noises, so that's sensory appeal.
Yeah, good, the sensory stuff. So another thing that she's really big on is sensory stuff, like talking about how things feel and taste and smell. Again, we've got sensory appeals. We know that's a big Kate Kennedy thing. So that's awesome because we can feel in that moment. Is there anything else in that you go, not even in the words, maybe in the situation, anything? What do you kind of see in there that you go, that's a Kate Kennedy piece?
Long and short sentence.
Long and short sentences, good, yeah. So that was something actually I talked today about in my class, about how Kate Kennedy does this thing where she gives us a really long sentence and then she gives us a really short sentence. So for instance, this one, I leaned down a bit to rub my ankle, blah, 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 the releasing tension that I hadn't known was there, that really long sentence. And then she's got, I wasn't prepared to give up my seat. No, not today. I actually then, when I gave feedback to this student, I actually said I would shorten it again and I would go, I wasn't prepared to give up my seat, and then I would go full stop, and then I would do no, not today. So I'd go long sentence, short, short. She does a lot of this, like, give you these big, long, well-punctuated sentences. So she doesn't have to, she doesn't just, write half a page and there's no full stops. She writes long sentences that are well-punctuated, lots of commas and semicolons and whatever, but then she follows it up with short, sharp sentences so that it's not just, long sentence, long sentence, long sentence, which is hard to digest. All right, the other thing that I like about this is the ordinariness of it. Is this not the most ordinary situation ever? Being on a train that's going to leave, you've got to find a seat, everyone's pushing and shoving to get seats. You know this world, don't you? You can feel this world. And getting on a train that's got a long trip, that, you're feeling tense, you're feeling tension, you're trying to have a bit of a stretch, but you're kind of crammed in with everybody. Yeah? Ordinary circumstance. That's really important to Kate Kennedy's writing. So for me, that gets a really big tick, that I go, already you're in the world of Kate Kennedy. Fantastic. All right, let's have a look at the next bit. So is there actually, we'll go back a little bit, is there anything else that you would change in there that you would go, this would make it more Kate Kennedy? Anything you would like to add? Well, what is Kate Kennedy? What's her writing? Yeah?
Maybe like using like symbolism or something to convey that she got lost and she was late.
Yeah, okay, so symbolism. Yeah, so adding perhaps, so one of the things that she does a lot of is she creates a symbol, she gives it to us at the start, and then she drags it the whole way through. That this kind of symbol keeps turning up and showing us its significance. So you could plant a symbol. That would be a really nice way to start, yep. And it could be even like, you know, the stretching thing. You know, the cracking of the body and the tension. You know, and she could carry that throughout. And, you know, slowly breaking down that tension. That would work really nicely. So plant a symbol early on. Good one. I like that. Cool. Anything else you want to add? Other things that you go, that's classic Kate Kennedy, they could put this in. No? Alright, well let's have a look at the next bit. So, I take out my phone, but see that my battery is dead. Rolling my eyes and pocketing it again, I then look around, seeing people with slack faces and sunken eyes. A lady comes onto the train and stands next to the priority seats, fidgeting with the cuff of her suit jacket. Station after station goes by until an old man in the priority seats stands up and offers her his spot. I didn't realise I was off in my own little world, having overlooked the way the woman grimaced, how she shifted from one leg to the other, and how her facial muscles slightly twitched, I guess they mean, during the first few stops. Okay. What is Kate Kennedy in that? Anything in there?
Showing, not telling.
Showing, not telling. Okay, so where does it show, not tell?
So, fidgeting with the cuff of her suit jacket.
Good, yeah. So telling us that she feels uncomfortable. Yeah, so instead of saying the lady standing opposite to me feels uncomfortable, she shows us that by having the fidgeting with the cuff. Good. Anything else that you go? And show, don't tell is one of her major things. That she never says, I feel frustrated, or Adrian feels frustrated. She doesn't do that. She actually shows us the frustration. For instance, like here, where she says, rolling my eyes and pocketing it again. That tells us that she feels frustrated, doesn't it? That's a show, don't tell.
So we have to do the opposite to that. Is it?
No, you have to do that.
I do like that.
Yeah. So you need to show, not tell. So instead of saying, you know, I feel frustrated, show me it by rolling my eyes and pocketing it again. I go, oh, the character is frustrated. Or here with the fidgeting of the cuff of the suit jacket, instead of saying the lady is uncomfortable, we go, oh, she's uncomfortable because she's kind of fiddling with her jacket. Okay. What else? What else kind of works for Kate Kennedy? What do you think is missing?
Similes.
Pardon? Yeah, I think there's not enough descriptive stuff here. Yeah, missing descriptives.
Even saying like an old man.
Yeah,
Would be more describing his wrinkles or his grey hair or
yeah.
watery eyes or something.
I feel like that too, where I go, old man, I feel like we can do better than that. You know, like tell me something about how you know he's an old man, perhaps. Like talking about her, you know, how he's maybe got pouches under his eyes. Daniel?
I feel like when they say I take out my phone and see the battery's dead, I feel
Yep.
like it would sort of be a bit more like
Metaphoric, perhaps.
yeah,
Yep.
metaphoric instead of just saying I take my phone out, because I don't think that's a very show don't tell.
Yeah, it's a little flat, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a little flat. Yeah, definite. Eddie?
I'm just saying, in general, do you know that show tell thing? Would you do both, or do you do just show and not a lot tell?
Yeah, I would avoid telling as much as possible. I would try and show the emotions of the characters, not tell them. Yeah, because she does very little of telling us how somebody feels. We just have to work it out from the body signals and the discussion, or the kind of, I guess, the vibe that the character is giving off. Yeah. Where we kind of watch their actions and we go, oh, well, she's obviously annoyed if she's doing it like that, if she's doing that. I was off in my own little world. I like the overlooked the way the woman grimaced, how she shifted from one leg to the other, and the facial muscles thing. I think that's interesting, but I feel like the I was off in my own little world. There could be more to it. Do you as well? Like, maybe she's thinking about the job interview, or, maybe she's thinking about what she's got to cook tonight. Just give me a little bit more, yeah? So let's put a little star there. Okay. So can you see how just like little bits of kind of editing, little bits of thought about what you're doing make such a big difference? By doing those little things, how much better would this sound? Like, it's okay as it is. It's good as it is, but this would make it great. All right, let's have a look at the next bit. Finally, after a couple of minutes of politely refusing, the lady... Oh, wait, I think I skipped a bit. Oh, no. Yeah. Politely refusing, the lady gave in as she sat down, thanking the old man, smiling slightly. The sight of the old man in a knitted sweater next to a woman in a purple suit and black dreadlocks being a sight to behold. You would think there would be more able-bodied people who would offer their chair instead, she murmured. I bite on my bottom lip and look down at the floor, shifting a bit in my chair as I hear the accusation in her tone stab through me. I look around expecting others to react similarly, but I only see blank slates upon each face, the light from the phone screens reflecting off their dull eyes, and remind me of how I am not different to any of them. Okay, what do we like in this? What is Kate Kennedy in this? Yep.
I bite on my bottom lip and look down at the floor. Let's see like that.
Good. Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Yep. That we go, okay, so she feels bad. Yep. She feels bad, and we go, okay, that's very Kate Kennedy. Okay. Yep.
Like her tone and stuff.
Good. Metaphoric. Yeah. So telling how someone feels through metaphor. Yep. The old tone stab. What else have we got? What else do you kind of go, yes. Do you feel like there could be more done with this bit? Because you know how Kate Kennedy loves irony. She loves kind of a little bit of an ironic situation. Where it says, the sight of an old man in a knitted sweater next to a woman in a suit with purple and black dreadlocks being a sight to behold. I feel like there's more that she could do with that, like more description. Don't you? Or you think it works? It'll do.
What more could you write there?
Well, I feel like she could probably be a little bit metaphoric about the kind of, yeah, about how old he is, and maybe like the contrast between the two. That they are incredibly contrasted, that you've got this little old man and then you've got this kind of wild-haired, scary-looking woman in a suit. Yeah?
I don't understand why it's there.
What do you mean?
That guy said, is it a show type thing?
Which bit? Oh, this bit. No, this is the protagonist viewing it, seeing the situation. Yeah. Well, looking at the situation and going, oh, I should have done something. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they could have done more with this. More with the interesting scenario. Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you what I do like though. I love this about the reaction of others. About how the person's watching what's happened and then gone, how is everyone else reacting? And then noticing that there is like no response from anyone else. And I think that ties really in with Kate Kennedy, because she talks about social issues, doesn't she? She talks about social issues, and I would say this kind of like lack of caring would fall into a social issues category, wouldn't you? This could fall into social issues, yeah, about like the lack of connection that people have.
Because they're on the mobile phone.
Good, yeah, because of mobile phone usage and that we are now kind of so disconnected from one another. I think that would work really, really nicely. So I really like that. I think that's really cool. That they've taken that idea and gone, oh, maybe I can explore that social issue. All right, let's go further. The question in my mind was asked aloud by the old man. Why didn't you ask anyone if you could have a seat? She shook her head a little, then answered, it's hard for me to ask others for a seat, seeing as I'm not old or pregnant and my disability isn't that noticeable. I try to get rid of the guilt now, thinking, there's no way I could have noticed from where I'm sitting. Though I knew that wasn't true. I was just as oblivious and zoned out as the rest of these doll-like people. A person next to the woman got off at the next stop. The old man slowly and carefully places himself onto the chair next to the woman, as if sitting had become a feat for his trembling, withered body. All right. So, what do we like?
Doll-like people.
The doll-like people. Yep, I like that too. I think that's cool.
It's trembling with your body.
Yeah, I like that too. Good. All right. Where could we improve? Yep. Pardon? Oh, I'm just highlighting things. I'm just highlighting. There's no colour coordination. It's just like, I'm just playing. I've got to have some fun in my life. Yep.
What about description of a woman's disability?
Okay, yeah, give us an idea of the disability, because we don't seem to kind of know what the disability is. And in and of itself, that could be a thing. But you either have to tell us that we couldn't see a disability, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Kind of, and then addressing another social issue, which is invisible disabilities. Like how, I don't know whether you've noticed it, but it's been something that's been in the media a bit about how people have kind of like attacked other people and said, oh, you're not disabled, you can't use a disabled parking, or you can't sit there, it's for disabled people. And they're like, oh no, I have a disability, I'm not in a wheelchair. Like, that doesn't mean I'm not disabled, just because I'm not in a wheelchair. So either communicate her disability or kind of hint why she hasn't, yeah. So I'll just write disability.
So how would you hint?
Showing and not saying.
Yeah, so you'd go show, not tell. And maybe she, maybe she's got like, how some people just have like a single crutch. You could have her with just like maybe she moves her crutch, like that it was like next to her leg, and then she moves it slightly, and you see it. yeah, or or a cane or something like that. So like a blindness cane. Maybe she's got a blindness cane, or I don't know, other things that you could have. Maybe she's really shaky. Maybe her, she reaches out for something and her hand tremors, and we go, oh, she must have something like Parkinson's or something that would cause mobility issues. And that would actually fit, because earlier where it says like she's fidgeting and we can tell she's uncomfortable, maybe you can kind of feed into that and we go, oh, right, so she's got something like Parkinson's or something. Okay, that makes sense.
It would be a prosthetic.
Or a prosthetic, that's a good one, yeah. Yeah, that you notice that it's actually a prosthetic leg, it's not a normal leg. See you later, guys. Anything else that you feel like you could add that would really kind of elevate this a little? I think maybe even like getting me to telling me a little bit about how that guilt feels, like the actual physiological reaction of when you feel guilt. Your stomach sinks. You could even borrow the stones in the stomach from Tyler, and how she talks about the stones in the stomach, and she gets those in feelings of shame, where she feels times of shame. You could borrow the stones in the stomach. Yeah, borrow the stones metaphor. That would work really, really well. Yep.
And also again, when they say I was just as oblivious and zoned out, like again, you could go more into their thoughts.
Yeah.
What they're thinking about, why they're zoned out.
I feel like that too. Like I feel like you could do a better description than oblivious and zoned out. Yeah, you could do more with that. Yeah. Definitely. And this is what you should be doing with your drafts now, is actually picking through them and going, well, how can I just make them that little bit better? Because like in and of itself, this draft, when I read it, I was like, this is really good. This is really good. Well done. And so I had some feedback to give. But even then, you should be picking through your own work and going, well, how can I accentuate this? How can I make this better and better and better? How can I polish this into a perfect piece? All right. The other thing that I will note before I keep going with the story, and you should definitely read the whole story because the whole story is really good, but one of the things I kind of mentioned was that it is in first person. Now, Kate Kennedy does occasionally write in first person, and I would say if you were going to write this story in first person, it would be forgivable because it is in Laminex and Mirrors. And Laminex and Mirrors is a first-person story. So I would go, in that case, I forgive. But I would say only say a quarter of the stories, a third, is it a third? A third of your stories are in first person. So the majority of the stories shouldn't be in first person. They should actually be in what we call third person limited, which is where you say he and she, but you only really understand the thoughts and feelings of the protagonist, the main character. So it might be, Megan went down the shop. She was feeling really nervous about her test today. Jordan was also doing the test, but not actually telling me how Jordan feels because it's third person limited. So Jordan might do the test, blah, 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 but you would only really know how Megan feels about it. Does that make sense? The majority of the stories are written in that form. So that should be your default setting. And the reason it should be your default setting as well is because it makes it loads easier to be descriptive, because no one's descriptive in their own mind. Like no one's like, oh, it's such a beautiful day today. Look at the trees swaying in the wind. Nobody has those kind of conversations in their own head. But in third person, it gives you a bit more scope to be descriptive because you're not that person, you're not in their head. So you have more kind of room to talk about sensory description and metaphoric language because you've got that kind of distance. So one of the things I said in terms of my feedback to this was that I think this would work a lot better in third person limited, because you would have more opportunity to be a bit more descriptive, and you could talk more about the sea of strangers that are all staring at their phones and whatever. You'd have more kind of breadth to do that. Whereas when you're first person, you can only really stay in their mind. Cool? Make it a sense? Yeah? We're happy with that? Okay. Do we want to keep doing this, or do we want to... You kind of get what I'm preaching about editing and adding, and you want to do something else? What do we think? Or do you want to keep doing this? I can tell you the ending of the story if that helps. Your decision. So the ending of the story is that the protagonist learns their lesson, and she sees those people go off the train and is like, someone else comes on the train and they see that they are kind of vulnerable, and so they then preemptively go and make contact and kind of make connection. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's the story. And in the actual story, it just smiles. The protagonist just smiles. It says, I see the old man watching... they see the person, and the old man's watching the whole scenario and sees that he's made an impact. But I kind of said, I think you should kind of like open your mouth to actually talk to that person, to the new stranger, to make that connection. But other than that, it's a really cool story. Have a read. It's awesome. It's awesome. Okay, so do you want to do something else? Yeah. Okay, so what would you like to do? Story ideas. Would you like to do story ideas? Yeah. Story ideas? Are we into story? Okay, we got 2 story ideas. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow. It's Miss Murphy's last day tomorrow. I'm going to miss her a lot. I'm going to miss her a lot. It's fun having someone just follow you around all the time. All right.
Is it just random stories or working off the prompt?
Working off a prompt. We'll work off a prompt. Do we want to do a work off the prompt? Hang on. Let's have a look at the survey. The survey says...
Like working with a prompt, how you can make it into different types of
stories. Do we want to do that?
Yeah.
We can do that. Okay, let's pick a prompt then. Pick a prompt, pick a prompt, pick a prompt, pick a prompt. You've got one? Hang on, I'll get it off the name so I don't have to type it out. Because I am lazy. Practice prompts. There they are. Okay, which one would you like, Lib? What do you want? Number 18. God, I wrote a lot of them, didn't I? Jeez. Okay. Oh, 8. 18.
She was just deleting it.
All right. Yeah, I'm just deleting all the others. Yeah. Okay. So, let's have a look. It's from Whirlpool, a thoroughly unrequested story, which I think is a good one to choose.
By choosing a story that's not very common, how much percentage do I go up?
Nah, not much. But like, it's more just about like, oh, you picked that one. That's cool. There's less people that did that one.
Wait,
Makes it interesting.
Are you going to pick a prompt that we've done as a class?
No. It will not be off this prompt list.
Will it be similar to the prompt list?
Who knows?
You do.
That's the exciting thing. I'm up to bribes. I'm up for bribes. That's what I'm saying. No, not really. You can't afford it. So let's have a look. It's bad enough that we haven't, I don't know how I've mistyped that. We haven't even a proper in-ground one, and you girls have to put up with that stupid thing that should have been thrown out years ago, she adds. You feel yourself nod and smile again, a sickly, traitorous smile of concurrence. Aww. We haven't even got a proper in-ground one. It's talking about the pool. She's got one of those, you know, like the ones that you buy from Kmart and you like prop it up. I love those things. They're the best. I've got one for my dogs. They fully love it. Anyway, so are we ready? Let's have a look. So this is from Whirlpool. Who is the she? Who's she? It's the mum, yeah, it's the mum. That horrible mum in the story. It's mum who is having a go at who? Who is this about, really? We haven't even got an in-ground one, and you girls have to put up with that stupid thing that should have been thrown out years ago. Who is that actually about? Who is mum having a go at?
The dad.
Yeah, it's about the dad. It's having a go at the dad that he's not providing. Yeah. Mum having a go at dad for not being a good provider. Okay. So that would tie with one of the things that we've talked quite a lot about, you know, masculinity and being emasculated, and, you know, about men's roles in societies. Yeah? And if you remember this story, the dad is very emasculated, isn't he? Like, he has this wife who basically just like picks at him all the time and says horrible things to him all the time and is always having a go. And even like how the protagonist talks about the photos and how her dad is never in them. That it's always, yeah, he's the one taking them, and the only bit of him that's in the photos is his shadow. That he's ignored in this family. That she's the be all and end all in this family, the mum. Okay. So, let's pick apart the other bit. You feel yourself nod and smile again, a sickly, traitorous smile of concurrence.
She's going against her dad. Feels as if she's betrayed.
Yeah, betraying her dad.
How do you like family strings?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely about her betraying her dad and feeling ashamed of it. And I think it is, again, it's a prompt about families and like the strains in families, the tensions. Yeah. But it's about like tensions in families and how there are, you know, these kind of wars that are always being kind of raged, and that who is the one that seems to be suffering in this story? Well, dad's the victim. The victim, but the kids are like civilian casualties, aren't they, in this war? Yeah. And the kids are the... I actually like that metaphor, the civilian casualties. You know, like you could definitely work that in as a bit of a simile, couldn't you? If you were writing from this perspective, that would work really well. Cool. What kind of themes can you kind of see in that prompt? Disadvantage? Well, in what regard?
To the dad, like not really having the financial aid.
Good, yeah, financial. Yep. Okay, what else? What other themes do we have? Remember that kind of What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What else do we got? Pardon?
Is ordinariness and social issues.
Yep, ordinariness. Yep, families fighting is definitely pretty bloody ordinary, isn't it? And like tensions in marriages, very ordinary.
Desires.
Family tension. Desires and reality. Yeah, so the mother's desire for like, you know, more prestige, more. And the reality is they don't have that. Yep. And that whole story is about desires and realities, how the mum wants this like perfect world, you know, captured in the photo, and that's not the case. Yeah. So I think that would be a good one to talk about as well. Yep. Desires versus reality.
Isolation, loneliness.
Yeah. Because the protagonist, oh shush, stupid computer. Yeah, I think as well, isolation's a big one because in this story, the protagonist is very isolated. She feels a sense of isolation because of this tension that's in the family. It causes her to feel isolated. Causes isolation. Okay, so that is the first thing I would be doing with a prompt. Well, first I would like find it in my text and like read around it and figure out, okay, so this is what it's about. This is what the prompt's about. And then I would be going, okay, well, let's pull it apart. Let's find all the bits in it. You know, what is it communicating? Why is she picked out of all the words in this text? Why has she picked this? What's significant? What does she want me to find? Because obviously I'm picking prompts that I'm like, I want you to find this. I want you to find these little nuggets. I haven't just gone randomly through the book and gone, that one. I've actually gone into the text and gone, right, what's a really good bit that they could get really cool stuff out of? Like I've done that on purpose, obviously. Because like, I don't want you to fail. Because that would be dumb. You know. So, betraying dad and is ashamed of it. Families and strains and tension. Dad is the victim, the kids are the casualties. We've got themes that we can pull in. Okay, so let's start. Do we want to start inside or outside? Inside the text, outside the text. Outside. You guys love running outsides. I reckon inside's easier to start with. Let's start with inside and then we'll go out. I'm gonna veto your ideas. Okay. All right. So what could we do inside the text? Let's just start inside this story. What could we do inside this story? What stories are there inside this story?
Ours. Yeah, I'm going outside the text anyway.
Cheeky already.
Perspective.
Okay, tell mum's perspective. Maybe mum feels like, maybe mum feels like the Mrs. Slovak inflection. Because it doesn't seem like dad does much communicating.
How can he when no one's doing this?
Exactly, but maybe she feels like, maybe her perspective is,
If I
I'm
say
lonely.
this, then
Yeah, he doesn't say anything to me. He just ignores me. Yeah, so write the scene from mum's perspective. But like maybe just like the perspective of the photo shoot. Right, the photography scene, because that's really like where we see her at her heart. Okay, communicating this all this kind of thing about disadvantage, about family tension, about desires and reality. Okay, that I'm going to hit those ones. Right, what else? Yep.
You go from like inside the dad's sort of point of view, like how what he actually is thinking.
Why don't you have dad setting up the pool? You know, dad setting up the pool. You know how we know that he does this, and like this is his little gift to his girls. Like every year he sets up this pool. This is what he can give them.
Symbolism.
Yeah, the symbolism of the pool, that this is my gift. This is what I can give you, happiness and and innocence and stuff like that. Definitely. Dad setting up the pool. And the good thing about writing internally is that you've got more scope in terms of like what forms you can take, because you can't really write a bunch of letters and as an external, because you're like, Kate Kennedy doesn't write letters. She doesn't do that. She doesn't write, she doesn't write letters. That wouldn't make sense. But with inside the text, you've got more leeway because you're adding to the text, and that's okay. Okay, and that I would probably do as like a monologue kind of thing. Be good if I could type, but it's not essential. Okay, let's do a third one, and then we'll do outside. One more story we could tell.
Is it about the sister?
The sister? What story would the sister tell?
Like, when they both agree.
Yeah, when they look at each other. There's that moment where they both lock eyes and they're like, we are not going to smile. And they don't say it, they just look at each other and they go, this is what we're going to do. You could tell that from her perspective. Because remember, she's the perfect one. She's the perfect sister. And that's a lot of pressure to have. To carry perfection. So maybe you could turn it around and give her perspective of what it feels like to have your mum expect you to be perfect and to be on mum's side, and against this dad that obviously loves you a lot. Mm-hmm. What does that feel like? Yeah? So, photo scene from sister looking at how it feels to be expected to be perfect and always side with mum. Yeah. Awesome. Sound good? We could do that? All right, let's do outsides. Inside, outside, puppy dog's tails. You wouldn't know that rhyme because that is for old people. Like myself.
Divorce after.
Good, okay, so...
The dad just gets enough of the...
Good. Well, I would even say that's inside though, Adelaide. Yeah, if you actually wrote that mum and that dad getting divorced, that would be inside the text. Yeah, you're still using the world of the text, yeah. But it would have to be after the divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after the divorce, because you couldn't write the divorce because Kate Kennedy doesn't write events, but you could write after the divorce. Yeah. Maybe, the protagonist is packing her clothes because because it's going to dad's house. And she's excited because she's not going to have to be with the mum that's crazy. All right. Outside stories. Sorry, dude.
No, that's all.
I liked that you thought the whole world was like your own touch screen though.
No, it's all
And you were
right.
like,
No, it's all right.
scroll. Yeah. I often look at my husband and I'm like, swipe right. I'll keep you. You're lovely. I'll keep you. No, because swipe left, isn't that like you want to get rid of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to swipe left on my own husband. That's horrible. Swipe right. He's lovely. I'll keep him. Yeah. He better be careful though, because one day I might just... It was an accident. I don't know. So, outside. Where could you kind of incorporate these ideas? A story that you can incorporate these ideas. Disadvantage, of ordinariness, of family strains.
Would communication, like lack of communication, be another thing in it?
Yeah, definitely. Lack of communication you could talk about.
Maybe that story where I wrote about the child and the mother or like father being foreign and like not being able to actually physically communicate with them.
Yeah, okay. So like a story about like a child that can't actually speak the language of a parent. Yeah, that like that's actually the communication barrier. Is that what you meant?
Like they can kind of speak it, but not
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean, like the parents?
So, like-
not speaking
Yeah,
English?
like
Yeah.
they immigrated into a country which is a
And she
social
grew up
issue.
speaking English.
Yeah.
But she's
Yeah.
But she would still learn how to speak. Yeah.
No,
but
you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
My husband, he's
I
he's
actually got, like, my mum, so.
does she speak a language that you don't speak?
Yeah, she's originally Filipino. So,
So she speaks Filipino.
yeah, so she speaks like local.
But you can't understand it. Yeah.
She specifically didn't teach it to me, so I wouldn't.
See, my husband's the same. His parents are from Italy. His mum is from Italy. Never taught him Italian. So he's never actually had a conversation with his grandmother. He can't speak to his grandmother because she only speaks Italian.
Not at all.
Not at all. He's never actually had a conversation.
That's pretty sad.
It's really sad. And Nonna's so cute. She's so lovely. But she doesn't speak any English. She does say, "Oh, beautiful." That's pretty much it.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's like
beautiful
my mom.
and
Take it easy.
love. She'll say, "Oh, love." That's pretty much it. Yeah. It's really sad because I really would like to get to know her because she's awesome. She's like really hardy. She seems like a really hardy human. See ya. But yeah, that would be a cool thing to talk about, like disconnect and like lack of connection between parents. Okay, what else? We need more stories. Yep.
Could sort of write a story sort of like, I don't know, just like you could sort of have it like someone who's got their eye on something in the shop or some massive sort of thing, and they're sort of just looking at it thinking, I can't afford it or whatever, and then sort of like, because the family's in a disadvantage, like financially disadvantaged.
Yeah, and the strain that it puts on. Yeah. So yeah. So like putting focus on financial disadvantage, like in that quote, and going, okay, so maybe the child wants something in the shop, and family can't afford. Maybe the parents speak about it and argue.
Could this also be inside the story?
Well, it could be, but it certainly could be. You could have like another instance, definitely. But if you wanted to be outside, yeah, then you could have like, that the parents speak about it. Maybe like he comes home and he says, I really need a new laptop, Mum, because I'm going to be doing VCE, Viscom, and I really need a Mac. Like I really need one because like it's going to, like help me with my studies, blah, blah. And then Mum and Dad at night sit down, have a conversation about it. It leads to an argument because obviously mum's still stay-at-home mumming and Dad's working but he's not pulling enough cash, creates family strain. Definitely a real parallel to the quote. That works well with the prompt. Okay, one more before I let you go. One more idea. Have a look at the themes. Desires versus reality, tensions caused by isolation. What do you think? I want one more idea.
Maybe an arranged marriage.
An arranged marriage?
'Cause
Is it ordinary to modern Australia?
it's so annoying.
I know, but you got to write like her. If you don't write like her, then we're not playing the game. If it was choose your own adventure, I'd say go for it, but it's not.
Maybe a really awkward family reunion.
An awkward family reunion, that could work. That's a very ordinary situation. Like family Christmas or something. You've decided to all like get together, big family Christmas, and you're like, who the hell are all these people?
Like a dinner thing, whatever, with like family
Yeah, extended family.
Recently, like, I think my mum and my dad went by some massive cousin reunion thing where they went to some fancy restaurant, like in town or whatever.
Mhm.
It was like, yeah, like, we talk about that.
Yeah, extended family dinner. I think that's actually a really good one because you could feed in lots of things. Like you could have like the disadvantaged financial. Maybe somebody turns up to that dinner and can't afford the kind of prices that are on the menu, and people are like, oh, we'll just split it, and they're like, yeah, but I deliberately didn't drink any wine, and I deliberately ordered like cheap things because I can't afford the prices, and everyone else is like gone crazy, and they're like, I can't afford it. That creates tension, that creates isolation. That totally works. Ta! Right. Any last minute questions that you want to ask before you go away from me?
So we get the prompt Monday.
Yeah. So Monday at 3:30, I will send out the prompts, and then everyone becomes a black hole of helping.
What if you get an essay on Monday?
If you send me something on Monday morning, I will endeavour to try and get it done before
But
Thursday.
after the prompts,
are out, oh no,
can't send
no more. Yeah, once the prompts are out, no one can send anything.
I know, but can you still mark stuff that you?
I can mark stuff that I've already received.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? No?
Are there any certain things that you really have to look at?
I would say they all feed into each other. I would say all the themes kind of feed into each other. So, and what I would do is I would come up with some concepts and I would go, have I covered all the themes with my concepts? Okay? Ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure. See ya.
How long should your written explanation be?
Oh, written explanations, I would say 3/4 of a page. Yeah, about 3/4 of a page. Written explanations.
How many words?
Like 300? Give or take?